Good evening and welcome to another edition of Stand Up for Jehovah. I'm going to tell you about a time when I really did stand up for Jehovah, not in a comedy way, but in a way that any self-respecting deity who preferred the brainwashing tactics of a cult to the benign cups of tea and whist drives of, say, the Church of England would be proud of. When I was a Jehovah's Witness, just about everything I did at Kingdom Hall was designed to make somebody else feel like shit. I had all your basic intimidation tactics, the 7 spare watchtowers that I would sanctimoniously lend to people who'd forgotten theirs. If they didn't stick their hand up in the round 1 of the shame game, brothers, who needs to borrow a watchtower? There are some spare ones at the back. I would look around quickly and spot the family who were making great efforts to come to the meeting with the wrong study article. Sat 7 rows ahead, and I would noisily but pretend quietly, pass these 7 watchtowers forward. Yes, pass them forward to brother and sister unorganised. They've got 3 children under the age of 10. Yes, the toddler's going to need one as well. I've got no idea why they've brought toys with them. The real reason that I had 7 magazines to spare was this. I wasn't going to let anyone know it, because I used to buy 10 copies of every magazine because that seemed to be the minimum number you could get away with buying without looking spiritually weak. And then I couldn't place any, of course, so I'd bring all my spares to the Kingdom Hall and make sure that I used them for intimidation tactics. I had the similar tactic, not quite as effective, but on the same lines, sharing your songbook. For some reason, really weak people always forgot the songbooks. Why they just couldn't remember to put it in the bag and leave it there, I don't know. I did, but then I was very righteous. Of course, the best way to share your songbook was to hold it up aloft. No, brother, we sing out loud. See here how I'm sharing my songbook with you. I also had your intermediate level methods, looking round in the prayer to see who got their eyes open. Of course, you had to be quite good at that one because other people could be looking round to see who'd got their eyes open, and you had to be able to distinguish them from the people who actually had their eyes open. It was very difficult, but a fair amount of practice meant that you could get away with it. The other intermediate tactic was tutting. I was a black belt at tutting at people who went to the toilet in the meeting. Oh, Sister Weak Bladder, I seem to have it here in my notes that you went to the toilet at 12:47 last Sunday and then again at 1:15. Do you have a weak bladder, sister? If I'd had my way, I would have had a brother on the door checking people's reasons as they left the hall. Oh, you're going out to thrash the living daylights out of a small child. Yes, please go ahead and exit the door. You want to go to the toilet again, sister? I seem to remember from my notes that your average is well above the publisher average for pissing in a meeting. I think you need to go back and sit down. No, you can't come through this door unless you've got a small child to spank. Yes, I know you're a single sister. There's one over there you can borrow. He seems to be shuffling a little bit. As well as the intermediate tactics, I had developed my own technique that I'd named the Minesweeper. You had to prepare in advance for the Minesweeper. You had to get in early enough to get the optimal seat for minesweeping, and there were other sisters in competition with me for this seat. Best position was about halfway to a third back from the hall, so that you could look round without actually rubbernecking right round. If you sat too far back, you could only really get a half sweep in. But if you sat round about the middle, you could get a full sweep without looking as if you were being dead nosy. The minesweep involved this. Lean back with a really joyous, happy-fied smile on your face. Minesweep round and look at everybody, picking in the random errors that you might catch. Somebody hasn't marked up the watchtower. Somebody has marked up the watchtower, but not in 2 colours of pen. somebody's got the wrong watchtower. My God. Picking in all these as you went, and as your face came round to the front and up towards the speaker, just slightly tilt it in a beatific, angelic way that said, I am filled with godly happiness. And I've got 7 sins to put down in my notebook later. Well, like I say, I had many techniques for looking good while simultaneously making other people feel like shit. But the very best, or in retrospect, worst thing I ever did was this. And this video is really by way of apology to the person at the receiving end. My dad left the witnesses before me. I was youngly married, probably about 13 or 14. I'm sure that's the age you were allowed to get married back then. And quite sanctimonious and very righteous. And then Dad stopped being a Jehovah's Witness. Well, all my years of practicing at making people feel bad came into play, because I used to write my dad long, pious, sanctimonious letters. This man who had raised me and brought me up in the ways of Jehovah must have now realised that he had created a shitty little monster. My epistles went on for pages about how he must be denying the signs of the times, how Armageddon was literally just around the corner, probably coming before I had time to finish the letter and get the stamp on and post it. And Dad had to suffer these epistles for several years until I managed to wake up as well and see the light. I was cleverer than Dad because I woke up last, so there was no snotty little bitch to write me letters when I left. Timing is everything, Dad. And so, I think what I'd like to say, now that I've woken up, is what a pious, pompous, snotty, snitty little cow I was. And I'm really sorry to every child that got spanked, and every sister that needed a wee, and every brother who was at the receiving end of one of my Lend watchtowers. And most of all, I'd really like to say sorry to my dad for those hideous letters. Please burn them. Thank you for listening to another edition of Stand Up for Jehovah.